Hi there friends, it's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb and theloopylamb.com, and today I'm going to teach you how to crochet a flat circle. Now, flat circles are used a lot in different crochet projects, from hats, circular blankets, amigurumi toys, and more. And I'm going to be showing you how to crochet a flat circle in different stitches. So first we'll start with our single crochet flat circle, then I'll show you how to crochet a flat circle with half double crochets, and then we'll finish off by working a flat circle using double crochet stitches. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk you through some troubleshooting tips for fixing a circle that just doesn't want to lay flat. Okay, so before we get started, if you're wanting to follow along with me with today's tutorial, you're going to need a yarn and hook combination that work together. For me, I'm using a worsted weight yarn and a 5.5mm or I crochet hook. If you're using a bulkier weight yarn, you're going to want to use a hook that's appropriate for that yarn that you're using. Same goes for a finer yarn as well. This can be done with any yarn and hook combination. However, when we get to those troubleshooting tips, you might find that you need to change your hook size depending on anything that you're, any kind of problems you're encountering. So if you're ready to get started, please hit that like button and please consider subscribing to this channel. I'm going to clear our space off here and we're going to get started on learning how to crochet a flat circle with single crochet stitches. So this is our single crochet flat circle. Now, this has been worked in a continuous spiral. And so you're going to need a stitch marker to mark the first stitch of every round. And this formula that I'm going to give you can be used for joined rounds. Instead of continuing on into the second round, as we will in our tutorial here, you will just join your last stitch to your first stitch with a slip stitch, chain up, say 1 for single crochet, 2 for half double crochet, and chain 3 for double crochet, etc., in order to continue working in those joined rounds. But I like the continuous spiral better because you don't have that that seam that you would get with your slip stitches, but this formula will work for joined rounds as well. So when you're working a single crochet flat circle, you need to start with a specific number of stitches. And for single crochet, that's 6 single crochet stitches you have to have in your first round. So we are going to start our circle with a magic ring or adjustable ring. And we're going to do that by holding onto our tail, wrapping it around our fingers like so, inserting our hook under the first loop and over the second and pulling that out. Then we'll twist it, and then we're going to pick up the working yarn here and pull that through our loop. Now, if you need to see that done slower, we do have a full tutorial for that here on the channel. So now that I have my adjustable ring done, we're going to place 6 single crochets into this ring. And to do our single crochet, we're going to insert our hook into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2. And that's your first single crochet. And now we're going to repeat that until we have 6 completed single crochets done into the magic circle. So again, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And that's your second crochet. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now that I have 6 single crochets done, I'm going to pull the tail on my magic ring and pull that tight. And now we are ready to start with round 2 of our circle. To do that, we're going to work what's called a single crochet increase into each stitch around, because you need to double the amount of stitches you have from round 1 in round 2. So we're doing that with an increase stitch, which is 2 single crochets into each stitch around. So I will illustrate that now. We're going to work under both loops of the first stitch, and we're going to do a single crochet. Oops. Then we're going to grab our stitch marker and we're going to place the stitch marker into that stitch so we can keep track of the first stitch of every round. Now we're going to go back into that same stitch and work another single crochet. So a single crochet increase is 2 stitches worked into the same stitch. And we're going to repeat this all the way around because at the end of round 2, we want to have 12 single crochet stitches. So this is the end of round 2. I have 12 single crochet stitches. And from here on out, we're going to be adding 6 single crochets to each round because we need to increase in each round by 6 in order for our circle to get bigger at an even rate. If we have, say, 8 single crochets or 4 single crochets, it's going to change how your circle expands outward. So we want to make sure that we have those 6 increases every round. And there is a set increase pattern that you're going to start noticing as we work in the subsequent rows. So for this round, we're going to do 1 single crochet into the first stitch, move up our stitch marker, and then we're going to do a single crochet increase into the next stitch. So again, that's those 2 single crochets worked into the same stitch. And now we're going to work this pattern all the way around our piece. And that pattern is 1 single crochet into the first stitch, 2 single crochets or an increase into the next. So single crochet into the first stitch, increase into the next. At the end of this round, you should have 18 single crochet stitches. And that is the end of round 3. And moving on to round 4, we're going to add 1 extra stitch into our repeat. So for last round, we did 1 single crochet, then an increase. In this round, we're going to do 2 single crochets followed by an increase. So into the first stitch, we're going to place 1 single crochet, move up our stitch marker, single crochet into the second stitch, and increase into the next. We're going to repeat this around. So 1 single crochet into the first and second stitch, increase into the next. 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, increase into the next. And as I said, we're going to repeat this all the way around our piece. And at the end, we should have 24 single crochet stitches. For round 5, we're going to do 3 single crochets followed by an increased stitch. So we're going to move that stitch marker, place 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So we have 3 total stitches with 1 single crochet in them. Then we're going to do an increase into the next stitch. And we're repeating this pattern around our piece. 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches, followed by an increase into the next. 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches, increase into the next. At the end of this round, you should have 30 single crochet stitches. So for round 6, we're going to add another stitch into that repeat. So last round we did 3 single crochets followed by an increase. And this round we're going to do 4 single crochets followed by an increase. So we'll place 1 single crochet into that first stitch, and 1 single crochet into the next 3, and increase into the next. We'll place 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, increase into the next. 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, increase into the next. 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, increase into the next. At the end of this round, you should have 36 single crochets. And this is our circle so far. And for the next round, round 7, we would add another stitch to our repeat. So last round we did 4 single crochets followed by an increase. And in next round, can you guess it? It's going to be 5 single crochets followed by an increase. And that will be our pattern. So round 7 would be 5 single crochets followed by an increase. Row 8 would be 6 single crochets followed by an increase. Row 9 would be 7 single crochets followed by an increase, and so on. That is the pattern that you would need to follow to continue to increase to make your circle get bigger and remain flat. Okay, and if you want all of those rounds written out for you, they all are available on the blog, theloopylamb.com. They're written out rounds 1 through 9 for you, so you can see that visual pattern happening in the written pattern. Okay, and now we're ready to move on to our half double crochet circle. To do our half double crochet circle, we have to start with the specific number of stitches for our circle to stay flat. And that magic number is 8. All right, so with single crochets, it was 6 stitches. For half double crochet, it's 8. And again, we're going to start with a magic ring or adjustable circle here. And make sure to have your stitch marker ready because we're going to continue working in a spiral. So we're going to make our magic circle and we're going to place 8 half double crochets into the adjustable ring. To do a half double crochet, we're going to yarn over, hook, insert our hook into the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that's your first half double crochet completed. And now we're going to do that 7 more times. So yarn over into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all the loops on your hook. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now that we have our 8 single crochets, we're going to pull our ring tight and we're ready to start with round 2. For round 2, it's the same thing that we did with the single crochets. We started with 6 in the first round. We then had to double it to move to 12 or adding 6. And in this case, we have 8. So if we add 8 to 8, what do we get? We get 16. So we have to have 16 half doubles in the round 2. And that means we're going to be doing some increasing. So we're going to be working into this first stitch and we're going to place 2 single crochets or do a half double crochet increase into each stitch around. So we're going to yarn over, insert into that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook, and don't forget to move up to place that stitch marker into that stitch. So we're going to go back into that same stitch to do our increase. So yarn over, back into that first stitch, yarn over, and yarn over again. And that's your increase. So we're placing 2 half double crochets into each stitch around. So that way at the end of this round, we will have 16 half double crochets. So now that we have finished with round 2, we're ready to move on to round 3. And we're going to be using the same formula that we did with our single crochets. We're going to do 1 half double crochet followed by a half double crochet increase. So we're going to do 1 stitch followed by an increase stitch. But again, because we're working in multiples of 8 for our half double crochet flat circle, we're going to be increasing by 8 again. So we're going to go from 16 stitches to 24. So we're going to place 1 half double crochet into that first stitch. And we're going to increase into the next stitch. 1 half double in the first stitch, increase into the next. 1 stitch into the first stitch, 2 into the next. And we're repeating this all the way around our piece. And at the end, we should have 24 half double crochets. And now we're ready to start with round 4. Now, if you notice that my piece at the edges are starting to kind of curl in a little bit, at this point, it's fine. You'll notice this more so with taller stitches, and the taller it gets, you'll find that there is a little bit of curling inwards as you're working. If that is bothersome to you, or you really need it to be completely flat, you can just block that out. This circle here, my half double circle here, I've flattened it a little bit, but I didn't fully block it because I'm actually going to be using this for something else later. However, if I just took a steam iron, I could completely flatten that and have that ridge sit completely flat with just a little steam blocking. Okay. So now we're ready to start with round 4. And again, we're doing that increase of 8 stitches around, and we're going to do 2 half double crochets followed by an increase in this round. So we're going to place 1 half double crochet in that first stitch and half double crochet into the second. We're going to increase into the next stitch here, and that is our repeat around our piece. Half double crochet once into each of the first 2 stitches, increase into the next. Half double crochet once into the first and second stitch, increase into the next. At the end of this round, you should have 32 half double crochet stitches. And now we are ready to start with round 5. For round 5, again, to increase by 8, we're going to do a repeat of 3 half double crochets followed by an increase stitch. And at the end of this round, you should have 40 stitches. And I'll show you how to do this. So we'll place 1 single crochet into the first stitch and half double crochet into the next 3 stitches. Oh goodness, I misspoke there. So you're going to have 3 half double crochets followed by an increase. So you only need to do the 2 after you've done your first stitch. So you need 1, 2, 3 single crochet, half double crochets followed by an increase. And then we're going to repeat that around. 3 half doubles. So 1, 2, 3, followed by an increase stitch. 3 half doubles, followed by an increase stitch. We're going to repeat that all the way around. So that is our round 5. For round 4, we would, if we wanted to continue to make our circle larger, we would do 4 half double crochets followed by an increase, and we would repeat that 8 times around our circle to get 48 stitches. For round 7, we'd do 5 half doubles followed by an increase, and then we'd repeat that around our circle. For round 8, we do 6 half double, round 9, we would do 7 half doubles followed by an increase. And if you want all of these rounds written out for you, again, they are available on the blog. Okay. And now we're ready to move on to our double crochet flat circle. For our half double crochet flat circle, we're going to once again start with our adjustable ring. And the flat circle with the double crochet also has a magic number that it needs to start with. So again, to recap, single crochet was 6 single crochets in the first round, half double crochets was 8, and for double crochets, it's 12 single crochets. And now the reason these numbers are different is because of the height of the stitch. So in order to do our 12 double crochets, we're going to have to either, you can chain up 2 or 3 here. I like to count this join where we secure our magic circle as the first chain, and I've chained up 2, so I have a total of 3. And in that instance, the chain 3 will count as your first stitch. So we will now have to do 11 more double crochets into this stitch, again, because this chain 3 is going to count as our first stitch. To do a double crochet, we're going to yarn over and insert our hook into the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. You should still have 2 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops, and that's your double crochet completed. And now we're going to do that 10 more times. You're going to yarn over, insert into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to continue to do that until we have 12 double crochets, and remembering that that chain 3 counts as a stitch. So now that I have my 12 double crochets completed, I'm going to pull the tail on my ring here to tighten that up. Now when you're doing the doubles, I tend to appreciate joining in the rounds. Some people, if their gauge is off, can experience a little bit of a gap moving into this next round. However, if you do keep in mind that you have to watch your tension as you're moving between the rounds, that's not really a problem, and you can continue to work in the spiral as I'm going to show you here. So moving into round 2, you're going to need to add 12 stitches. Each round in a flat double crochet circle, you're going to have to increase by 12 double crochets. So we're going to place 2 double crochets into each stitch around, and we're going to start by working into the top of that chain 3 there. So we're going to yarn over and insert into the top of the chain here, yarn over through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so you can see that we have that gap. Adding the second stitch will help with that, but if you're kind of loosey-goosey at the top here, that can be more obvious. So just keep that in mind. We're going to place our stitch marker into that first stitch. Then we're going to place our second double crochet back into the top of that turning chain, or the chain 3. And now we're going to work 2 double crochets into each stitch around. At the end of this round, you should have 24 double crochets. And now we are ready to start with round 3. And again, we're going to be increasing by 12 stitches. And to place them evenly around our piece, we're going to do 1 double crochet in the first stitch and an increase into the next stitch. And, you might be catching on to the pattern that we've been working in all of our pieces so far, in that the third round goes 1 stitch followed by an increase into the next stitch for round 3. So we've got our first double crochet done here, and now we're doing our increase into the next. Then we're going to place 1 double into the first stitch and increase into the next. We're repeating this pattern all the way around our piece. This repeat of 1 double followed by an increase stitch should be done a total of 12 times. At the end of this round, you should have 36 double crochet stitches. And now we are ready to move on to round 4. For round 4, we're going to do 1 double crochet into the first and second stitch followed by an increase. So that's written as 2 double crochets followed by an increase. We do that repeat 12 times and we'll get 48 stitches at the end of the round. So we'll double crochet into the first stitch, double crochet into the next, and then we'll increase into the next stitch. And so here is our circle after we have completed round 4. We have 48 double crochets. And so if we were to continue to make this circle larger, for round 5, we'd do 3 double crochets followed by an increase around our piece. We'd repeat that all the way around until we had 60 double crochets. For round 6, we would do 4 double crochets followed by an increase 12 times around our piece. And then again, we'd continue to follow this pattern of adding 1 double crochet to our repeat before our increase. So for round 7, we'd do 5 double crochets followed by an increase. And you can find all of these rounds worked out for you in written pattern available free on my blog, theloopylamb.com. And now before we move on, let's talk about different reasons that your circles might not be laying flat and how we can fix them. So if you have a circle that's curling, you can see that mine is curling a little bit. This level of curling is totally normal. However, you can have curling, say you're doing an amigurumi piece and you're using a really small hook. Sometimes you'll notice that you're doing the formula for the flat circle, but your piece is right up here. It's all curled up like this. So sometimes that happens because your hook size might be too small for the yarn you're using, or you're crocheting too tightly. If you suspect that those might be the problem, I suggest you can either frog the piece and try again with a larger hook, or frogging the piece and trying with a looser tension. It could be a combination of loosening your tension and adjusting your hook. Or in this case, when you have a slight bit of curling like this, you can just block your piece and it will flatten right out for you. Okay. Another thing that could be causing that is if you stop increasing or you're not increasing enough. If you're not following that formula of adding one stitch to your repeat every time you go around your piece, or maybe you're watching Netflix and you're missing a couple of increases, that will start to have your piece kind of get a little wonky. So you would want to look back at your piece and see where you might have missed an increase or two, and you might have to just frog that round or multiple rounds back until you find where the mistake started to happen, so you can recrochet those rounds. Now, if you have a piece that is ruffling or rippling, I'm not sure, I don't have an example here, unfortunately, but sometimes you'll get a piece and it'll kind of want to be doing something like this. Okay. Or it could be on one side, it could be on all sides, but it kind of looks like one of those melted records that were popular a long time ago. But if you're having a ruffling or rippling, if it's very minimal, if it say looked like that, then you could probably block it out. However, if you're using stitches of varying heights and you haven't adjusted how many stitches you need to increase in that round, like say you do 12 double crochets in this round, okay? You've increased by 12, but then you want to do a round of single crochet in the next round. You're going to increase that round by 6. You're not going to increase it by 12. You're going to increase that by 6 because you're increasing your number you increase is based on your stitch height, okay? So you're wanting to keep that in mind if you're using different stitch heights within your piece. You can also have this happening if you have too many increases. So if you have too many increases and they're all bunched together, that will cause that rippling. If you've ever done a ruffle before, that's how the ruffle happens, is you stack a lot of increases really close together. So to fix that, you're going to frog the piece and try again with fewer stitches. And that covers most of the issues, the common issues that people have when trying to do a flat circle. If you have any other issues and you'd like to ask me how we can fix those, please leave that in the comment section below. I would love to help you in any way that I can. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing to this channel. If you enjoy free crochet patterns, please check out my blog, theloopylamb.com. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.